Also, it's been pointed out that the email I sent this week with a link to the internal grants that are available for faculty as seed money to start research projects doesn't work. So that link was sending you to this web page, which we're going to talk about two of these internal faculty grant programs today. One we're going to talk about is the Competitive Scholarly Research Grant Program, and the other is the Carol Tousley Moy Endowed Fund for Collaborative Research. So all of the there's handouts at the back of the room describing how to apply to these two programs. All of those handouts are on this web page. There's also templates, there's also signature forms, there's also report templates, sample budget, spreadsheets, and today's PowerPoint and recording will be also available on our website. So, Don, you guys know Don and I, so we'll go ahead and skip introductions and go to the PowerPoint slides. So we're going to talk about these two particular programs, and a lot of the advice is there's overlap in terms of, consider your audience when you're writing your proposal. The audience is your faculty peers, but from various disciplines. So, and then we'll have some time for Q&A. This is the website I just showed you. So the faculty research and scholarship support tab is the one you're interested in for today. And the Competitive Scholarly Research Grant Program has the guidelines and sample budget. And then the workshop that we're doing right now will be on this resources page. So the purpose of this program, the provost is providing these funds to encourage the scholarly growth of faculty. And this includes creative activities, so research broadly defined using UIS understood definitions, and with the idea of generating knowledge, also could impact public policy. Additionally, we'd like to encourage faculty to engage students in their research projects. So another goal is the scholarly growth of the students. And so if you do include students, you need to describe in your proposal how the students' scholarly development, how you're going to encourage that. They're not just chemists, so they're not just in the lab washing beakers, right? They're actually involved in the research. Yes?
I am going to try to involve undergraduates from UIS, but there are also going to be UIUC graduate students involved. Do they count in this involving students, or is it really looking at UIS?
So this is UIS funds, so we would only be counting the UIS students as we were mentoring.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's great to include UIUC grad students or UIC grad students. They can help be like near peers to the undergrads. So that is a good model, which we don't have the grad students, the PhD students here to do that with. And this year, so last year I tried an experiment with 3 tracks. This year we're simplifying. There's just one track up to a full year of funding, and then you decide like what timeline makes most sense for your project. If you're doing field work, then there's a certain season where you have to do that field work, so that's your timeline. If you want to pay a student to do work with you, then the way it's set up is the funding is only available to pay the student during the summer, so that would maybe affect your timeline. The proposal guidelines are in that handout, and there's basic information about who your dean is, because this goes through the colleges. The narrative part is 3 to 5 pages long. It needs to describe the purpose of the project, what's the need in the field, but then also how it's going to help you in your research agenda or professional development, and your timeline, your methodology, your expected outcomes. Are you going to maybe get a paper out by the end of this, or maybe a presentation, or get preliminary results that you could use for external grant? Then an itemized budget, reference section, and a 2-page CV. So we'll talk a little more about the budget. Don, did you want to talk about the budget?
Well, we have a template on the website for the budget, but when you get into the budget, and if you're going to include students for the summer, there's things that you need budget help with, we will be more than happy to work with you to put that budget together, get all the right dollar amounts and things in place for that. So don't hesitate to contact my office, and we'll get you set up.
I have a question. For summer, do the students have to be on site, or can this be, like I'm doing something that involves computer programming, can the student be a summer researcher but not necessarily on campus?
So you have to be able to demonstrate how you're mentoring them and helping them develop as a student.
Right.
So that would be a challenge for offsite, if you're on-site and they're off-site. That being said, we want to try to include online students
Right.
in our activities that we make available to on-ground students. And I know with undergrad research, that's been a challenge. How do you engage online students in undergrad research? So if you have a computer
Sure.
computer-based project, then that might be a good project to include online student with.
Great.
If you can describe, maybe you have, Skype check-ins,
Yeah.
daily Skype check-in once a week, meeting kind of thing, reporting back and forth. So that's a great idea, actually.
Work it out.
Yeah. Other questions about this part?
Keen
Yes.
mentioned the sum faculty stipend not exceed the hourly rate for the researcher salary. Could you just take our salary and divide by 2080, or get that hourly rate?
You can check with Don on how to do that. It depends on if you're depends on if you're a 9-month
Mhm.
contract or 10-month or 12-month.
Once you know how much time you want to
Right.
get involved in it, I can get that detail worked out.
Okay.
Usually, there's not, the limit's $5,000, so
Yeah.
you're not gonna get 100% summer salary off of this. Okay, other questions?
I just have a
Yeah.
comment before you get too far. When you go to the site and you open the guidelines for the Competitive Scholarly Research Grant, pay particular attention to Article 3 on grant request format and schedule for submission. It lays out the format very specifically, and it makes it a whole lot easier for your project to be reviewed if you follow the same format that everyone else is following. So just pay attention to that format that's laid out there in Article 3.
Yeah, that's a good point. We don't have a template. We thought you can be more flexible with your structure that way, but if you follow the order, then when the reviewers rubric, so that it will help them, evaluate. References don't count toward the 5-page limit, so I encourage you to include references because you want to demonstrate this is important to the field. We do want to limit your resume, so 2-page bio sketch is what NSF uses. We're not requiring the NSF format, but the idea is to focus your CV on your activities that are relevant to this particular project. Again, that helps the reviewers. So there are limited funds available for this program that's posted on the website, how much we can provide. And it's going to be reviewed by the research board. The research board members are on the web page. They're your faculty peers. Not all proposals will be funded to the full amount. So the full amount you can request is $5,000. Be realistic. You might not need $5,000. If you need more than $5,000, then also be realistic about that. Can your college help? Can your department help? Is there some other source of funds to help you accomplish the project? Yeah.
I'm looking to sew together like 3 or 4 sources. And this is a significant amount. It does go somewhere. But I have to apply before I'll know the results. And so is it okay if I list various items and explain that I'll be putting together, and so I'm not sure which line it's going to correspond with, but yeah.
Yeah, so, pending support or,
Right.
Proposed sources of support, yeah, that's fine. Yep. And then when the research board reviews it, sometimes we cut the budget. We try to be sensitive to not cutting things that would cripple it, but and then we'll go into negotiations at that point. If the research board wants to fund it but can't quite fully fund it, then we can try to negotiate with you about, well, if we can come up with $3,000, can you still do the project? So the research board we've mentioned a few times, so they're faculty from all across the campus, faculty and staff. So as you write your proposal, follow the guidelines, follow the outline, use terminology that's not too technical for your field, because chances are there's not someone in your field to review it. And also talk about your own scholarly history. Again, how was this project going to move forward your scholarly history, your research agenda? And so you can give some of that context, because not everyone's going to know you. The submission is an email document to the Office of Research Administration website. Then we will send it to the deans just for their approval. They're not ranking, they're not rating, they're just saying, oh, okay, yes, this faculty member has time this summer to do this, that's fine. And then the research board will meet, and like I said, we have a rubric, and then they recommend to me who they want to fund. So this is due, we moved the deadline up, this is why we're having the workshop now, to January 25th, so soon after spring semester starts. So you want to be thinking now, and maybe spending some time over winter break. But again, if you have to find out how much is this going to cost, and offices are closed over winter break, you don't want to wait too long to prepare your proposal. So then you should get notification by March 8th, so you'll have time to prepare for field work or summer work. And then if you are awarded, this comes out of our fiscal year budget. So there are actually 2 deadlines. There's a June 30th deadline and a May 13th deadline for spending the funds. So if you, this happened to me, I spent funds before June 30th, did not report them, therefore, out-of-pocket expenses. So you want to avoid that mistake. And then we do have a mid-year report and then a final report. And it's expected that you'll present the results to the campus community. Campus is making investment in your research. We want to find out, what happened. Okay, any questions? We'll have a question and answer period later. Any right now?
That's over 2 years, right?
Yeah. So this goes. So you'll know by March of 2019, and you'll have through May of 2020
Yeah.
to spend the funds, and then that following fall of 2020, make your presentation to campus. Okay. So the other program we want to talk about is the MOI, and Don, you're probably more familiar with the history of the MOI. You want to give a quick overview?
Well, the Moy family has been really intimately involved with both UIS and the SIU School of Medicine, and they have left foundation money to both institutions. What they were really interested in with UIS was the idea of us being able to develop joint research projects, so they could capitalize on their expertise and knowledge in the medical and health related fields, and we could add our research background and knowledge and expertise in those areas to help with that project. They've also had a belief that this might also lead to projects seeding the idea of NIH grants and NSF grants, and looking at other joint type of larger grant funding down the road. And we have had a few spin-off applications already. One that was just recently submitted to NIH to look at other funding opportunities. And there's been some really good research come out of the work that's been done, especially in big data areas, which has been important to healthcare, and looking at ways of delivering healthcare to low-income populations more efficiently and effectively, and serving those needs. So there's been some really interesting research coming out of this. We manage the funds for the MOI, and once a project is worked out and gets approved, then we'll continue to help you support that all the way through your research cycle, and then be supportive of any additional grants that may spin out of that.
Great, thanks, Don. So the key is that it's a joint project between faculty at UIS and faculty at SIU School of Medicine. Again, it's a year-long project timeline, and it is possible to request a one-time no-cost extension for an additional year, which I think Egbe can talk about that experience. Again, the guidelines are on our website. Similar format, you have the basic information. In this case, you need to clearly identify the full-time faculty at UIS who's taking a lead from the UIS side, the full-time faculty at SIU School of Medicine who's taking a lead from the School of Medicine side. You can have additional research personnel involved. You can have students, undergraduate students, grad students. They have postdocs there. So you want to identify as best as you can who all is involved from both institutions. Yes.
Do we have to be both named like co-PIs, or just say this is my collaborator, or how formal is that aspect?
So you would be the PI at UIS, and they would be the PI.
So we should
at
say that
SIU
we
School
are,
of Medicine.
okay.
Yeah. And then the narrative, again, there is a template for this application, so it has the different sections that you need to cover. Again,
The other issue with the approval timelines. SIU has a more stringent process that they have to go through for the approvals, and that usually is no less than a week in advance of when we would need the approvals here. So you'll need to work with your partner at SIU to make sure that this gets processed through their system in advance of when it's going to be due here to us.
So, yeah, there's also contact information for whom to contact on the SAU side to help with that. Dr. Torrey is the research director there. So in the narrative, you want to again talk about the project, the need for the project, what your methodology is going to be, the expected outcomes, and preference is going to be given to projects that have potential external funding possibilities, because the idea is this is seed funding to help create a collaborative research environment between UIS and SIU, School of Medicine, that could continue to grow after the grant's over. The budget and bibliography and CVs are in addition to the 5-page limit on the narrative. The budget this time is up to $10,000. This time you can include faculty stipends, research assistants, you could have a consultant maybe that's doing statistical analysis or something, for example. This time you can also include travel for conferences, so maybe part of your project is to present the results at a major professional conference at the end of it. And again, details on what equipment and commodities you need. And there's no overhead or indirect cost allowed on this, so which is good news, because $10,000 goes away pretty right.
A comment about the proposal description and goals, which Keenan has mentioned is a 5-page limit. That is Article 2 in the narrative. The proposal template is included in that. Pay particular attention to what's being asked and be as succinct and clear as you can when you go through those, because the research board, when they review these, are going to follow that proposal narrative template pretty closely. And so try to think about keeping it in that order of presentation. It'll make it much easier for their review as well.
And this another difference between this program and the competitive scholarly research proposal is that you can have a 5-page CV. So this is following the NIH rather than NSF BioSketch style, and we can help you with that. Your collaborator at the SIU School of Medicine is probably very familiar with this style, so maybe they could help with that as well. Let's see. In terms of the review, board is going to include faculty both from UIS, members of the research board, and then also from the SIU School of Medicine. So there's representation from both institutions, and that, of course, goes to the purpose of the program, to collaborations between UIS and SIU, but also can help because oftentimes these projects are medically related, and UIS Research Board doesn't have medical expertise. So it's I think it worked well last year when we had that 2 faculty from the School of Medicine. But again, you're going to have non-medical faculty on the review board as well, so you don't want to be describing clinical language that normal people wouldn't understand. Okay, so there's, in addition to the proposal template, there's a signature form, or called a grant routing form. And so you need to go around and collect signatures from all of the faculty involved in the project, also from your chair, also from your dean, and also this has to happen at the same time or earlier, actually, at the School of Medicine. As Don was pointing out, their deadline is before our deadline because they complete their part and then they send it over to us, and then we can complete our part. So you want to definitely allow time. The deadline this year is March 1st, so at least a week of wandering around and gathering signatures. Again, the dean and chair, they're not making a recommendation, they're not ranking, they're just signing, saying, yes, I'm aware this faculty member is doing this project. And then the review board will make a recommendation to the provost, the UIS provost actually gives the award. And this year, we're offering, again, optional pre-review. So if you want feedback from our office and the SIU School of Medicine Research Office, you need to get that to us by January 11th. I realize that's actually during break, but this is optional. This is not required, but the March 1st deadline is the hard deadline, and that needs to come to us. So work with your school medicine partner, make sure they get everything done on their side first, and then send it to you and send it to us. And we'll make the announcement in May. So again, you'll have time. I think June 1st is the start date, so you'll have time to start getting ready for that, to start your project. So there's a required report, and there's a template for that also on the webpage. And again, you can ask for a no-cost extension, so you need to submit that before the end of the first year. There's a form for that as well on the website. And Don and I are here to answer questions, discuss other issues.
Just a couple of comments about SIU School of Medicine. The kind of research that we've been getting involved with in Des Moines has our staff, our faculty involved, having access to a lot of data from their organization. They have to be HIPAA compliant in everything that they do. And that means that there's generally one of two types of contractual agreements that we have to enter into between the institutions. So if you can kind of, as you're looking at this and putting this project together, and think about the kind of data that is going to be shared, we're going to have some sort of data use agreement between us, and depending on the HIPAA requirements, it might even be a business associate type relationship. And business associate is a little more challenging for UIS because it has a lot of HIPAA compliant training requirements in it that we don't have to have. I mean, we're moving in that direction, but we're not currently considered a HIPAA compliant organization. The data sharing type of agreements usually are easier to work through. So having some lead time on those two types of agreements before you're actually going to be accessing and using the data helps my office in figuring out with SIU what kind of agreement that they need. But it will be SIU, School of Medicine, that will tell us what kind of agreement they have to have. So make your counterpart at SIU aware of that. So they will notify us and send us a template for those agreements, and then we work with them to negotiate the terms of those agreements.
Excellent point. And sometimes those negotiations can take a long time where we're getting to, Don knows his counterpart at SAU School of Medicine, so getting to agreements faster that way. Another timing issue to consider is is this going to involve IRB? And so which IRBs are going to go through? Again, we've worked out agreements between our two IRBs, who's going to be the lead IRB. So we can do that, it's just you need to plan that time as well. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.